You know, I really do like micro drivers because I love seeing compact, even tiny earphones that are light, easy, and comfortable to wear, with sound performance that matches or perhaps even surpasses earphones with, bigger drivers. The thing is though, it's really hard to find one of those because I guess physics, right? Micro drivers have always, or at least almost always, been worst in at least some ways or another, be it the sound or the volume or even just the build quality. But today, I'm gonna be talking about something that I think is probably the closest I've seen to a micro driver that matches my description of a great micro driver, and that is gonna be the Final Audio E3000. These are Japanese made, and they feature a very nice bullet design and are very small and comfy. And with that, let's get into a review of the Final E3000. So with the Final E3000, you get this sort of standard cardboard box. Very nice picture of the E3000 on the cover here. There's a bit of marketing on the back and some specifications, of course. It's a little busy looking, but the general aesthetic I do like from this box. But once you've opened the over-engineered sort of flap hanger cardboard bit here, you have a plastic tray with the Final E3000 on the top and the carrying case at the bottom. Like I said, on the top you get the Final E3000. It's wrapped with this very nice thin strip of Velcro, as you can see, and in the bottom is your carrying case, and from tapping I think there's probably accessories in here. So here's your carrying pouch. It's actually not that great, to be honest. Like the texture of the faux leather here, if you can hear the sound, it's a little nylon-y feeling, not really nice feeling, to be honest. It's fine, and it'll, you can put the E3000 in here. It's a decent size, but I don't know, I wanted something with a bit of a better texture, to be honest. Ear tips. You'll be getting Final Type E ear tips. They come in small, medium, large, and large sizes. So, they even include in-between sizes alongside your standard small, medium, large, and that's really nice. And the ear tips themselves are great. They work on a variety of other earphones. They're basically just more comfortable Sony hybrid ear tips. And although they soften the slam of bass range and a lot of sound, they do a great job of warming up earphones that have a too thin or an edgy sound. So it's really good value that you get like a bunch of these. Then finally, you get some of these ear hooks. They're small, they're light, they work alright with the E3000 if you want to wear it over the ear. I don't, because I think the E3000 is still better worn the traditional just plug it in your ears way, but hey, you have the choice to do that here, and they're much nicer than the common ear hooks you get included, which are bigger and cumbersome. These are actually really small. So you get a very competent unboxing experience with some extra goodies even. You get everything you need to get started using the Final Audio E3000 and the Final Type E ear tips with all of that like extra in-between sizes are actually very nice. It shows that Final cares about the product and cares about the consumer getting like a good and comfortable fit with the E3000 and not just throwing in some tips for the sake of it. And even the little touches like the smaller than usual strip of Velcro that they use to wrap the E3000, or the smaller ear hooks that are lower profile, it really sells the feel that you're buying a micro driver with accessories that match the size, right? But make no mistake though, the E3000 might be small, but the performance is anything but. We'll get to that later, of course. So, Here is the final E3000 in the flesh. It's basically your standard bullet-shaped earphone, very small. From the box information, apparently this housing is made of stainless steel. It's got a mirror finish, basically glossy. It's shiny and it's beautiful for sure, but it can be a fingerprint magnet. And of course, it can get a little scratched over time too and lose its luster. And you can see in the back here sort of the small vent thingies. Apparently, this is actually semi-open, so you're getting a semi-open design with the E3000 actually. Pretty nice. You know, I've had it a few years now, and even though the shininess can lose a bit of its luster, it still looks nice actually. Of course, the size itself, it's diminutive, befitting the microdriver moniker. It's actually about, here, let me see. It's about the same size as the Moondrop Spaceship here. But, you know, thanks to the final Type E ear tips, it's a more comfortable wearing experience. Of course, the nozzle is specially designed, so it's sort of, when you use the final Type E ear tips, it sort of swivels just a little bit and bends when you put it in your ears, so it fits your ears more. You also see the left and right cable connectors here. It's a little hard to see, but there it is. So usually with Japanese earphones, they make the right side colored red, but here Final chose to just make the left and right half the same sort of white color, which I guess on a design perspective, I guess it does look nicer. But from a utilitarian perspective, I would have wanted them to make it red so I can actually see the red and right side, the left and right side a bit more clearly. The cable itself, it's non-detachable as you can see, but I think it's a fine cable. It's very thin actually, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily not rugged. But yeah, very thin, it's light. It's not that microphonic. The jack itself here, nothing too special. It's L-shaped, it's made of plastic, the usual. For your Y splitter, you can see here, made of plastic, but this Y splitter also has a separator bit here. So, you know, it's minimalistic, but it gets, you know, all the functions, and it does everything you need it to. Completely fine. People say the cable may be a bit fragile and break, but so far, again, it's the final E3000 has stayed with me for years and it has worked completely fine. So your mileage may vary, I guess. And I think Final Audio has done a good job to maximize the comfort of the E3000, because even though, as you can see, the Moondrop Spaceship kind of looks similar, its wearing experience is less nice because the thicker cable from the Moondrop Spaceship compared to the thinner one, the E3000, it has more weight and it drags the Moondrop Spaceship out of your ears at times. And the Spaceship exhibits slight driver flex as well. Meanwhile, you don't have any of that with the E3000. It's just a really no frills, comfortable set with good build quality. So about source matching, right? Truthfully, I don't think the differences between the LG V20 and the iBaso DX150, at least when using the E3000, is that significant. Like, yeah, the usual applies where the V20 is a little brighter and the DX150 is a little warmer, but the really relaxed tuning of the E3000, it's sort of loose enough of a tolerance that it plays kind of well with just about any source you could throw at it. Even my older phones with like Cirrus Logic DACs works as well. So yeah, just use whatever on the E3000 as a source and it'll probably still sound its best, I think. As for tips, I'm gonna be sticking with the final Type E silicone tips on the E3000. It works with the distinct nozzle so that it sort of bends to the curve of your eardrums, and it's just super comfortable, to be honest. I'm using the small medium size, which fits me better than the standard medium. Again, it shows that the half sizes are actually quite useful, and it's nice for you to sort of fine-tune the comfort when you use the E3000. And yeah, actually with that, let's get to the sound of the final E3000. Man, I swear, I don't know, Final Audio kind of puts some voodoo tech in here, because the E3000, it actually doesn't output as much volume as like normal big driver in-ears, but I never feel like it's too quiet sounding, unlike other micro drivers. Something about the mellow tuning and the way it fills out the sound, it just makes for a very pleasant listen a majority of the time, and it even masks very well sort of the typical weaknesses that micro drivers tend to exhibit, as what I will touch on, starting with the low end actually. So the low end of the E3000, it's very well made. It embraces sort of the nature of being a micro driver, and embraces it beautifully. Usually other small driver earphones tend to have ineffectual bass, or at higher volumes they can get raspy. Well, on the E3000, these weaknesses, you know, they're very well hidden actually. The bass still has a slight slam, a still thick texture, and music sounds full-bodied. So it's enough that you can still go through libraries of a lot of genres and even electronic music, no problem. And when you go to higher volumes, the final E3000, it does have some ringing and distortion, yeah, but it's sort of subtle enough, it's controlled enough, and it's rarely intrusive that you probably won't even notice it much. And it's a great implementation of microdriver bass that I really wish other brands would try to at least emulate. Now, for the mids, I guess the main descriptors I would use for the mid-range of the E3000 is mellow and relaxed. It's a slightly softened texture with a decent amount of warmth, and it sort of emphasizes instruments over vocals, so vocals kind of take a step back. But it does it in a very lax way, and a slightly thick but clear timbre. I never feel like there's like a hot spot in the midst with vocals. There's no sort of shoutiness going on. It's just a very well-rounded and easy to listen to mid-range that doesn't get tiring. It plays well with most genres, save for stuff that requires a bit of sharpness, such as metal or rock, but otherwise very nice. And the mid-range of the final E3000, the thing is, it works together with the general sound to make for a really organic listening experience. It's not technical, but it's got good resolution, and nothing about the details ever feels sort of smeared or pressed together. If anything, I would hate if these mids were any more technical, because it would sort of fall out of a sweet spot that the E3000 has found itself in, and I really like the sweet spot that Final Audio has reached here. As for the treble, there's really not much I can say for the E3000 here, because, well, it's not because it's particularly muddy per se, or blunted, no, but it's definitely made sort of not to be the highlight, not to be the focus of the sound. And it's only there to provide the clarity for the songs when it's needed. It gives a slight airiness without being sibilant or glaring. You will find no lack of treble energy, but I would say some cymbal instruments can sound a little less bitey than usual. I don't mind it, but yeah, this one would depend on the listener. It's, yeah. So, the thing is, the final E3000, it's technically kind of semi-open, as you can see in the unboxing bit, where you can see like small holes in the back of the housing. So the soundstage aspect is once again quite impressive for a micro driver. Combined with like this mellow tuning, I never found the E3000 to be constricting. And it's got a decent soundstage that's a little bit more out of your head than usual, so very nice. In terms of separation, the E3000, you think the relaxed tuning would kill that, but no, it presents still a nice showing despite the lax tuning. And you sort of get good definition, you get good resolution, and whilst there's definitely some sacrificing of micro details for macro details, it is presented very well. And even if the note texture is somewhat soft, it has a very natural way of presenting sort of real instruments in a way that is faithful instead of processed or something. Doesn't play well with like electronic synths, but pianos, violins, you know, most of those things, it does completely fine. So, as I've said before, the Spaceship and the final E3000, they are of similar size. They also have a similar mirror finish, but I think for sure the E3000 has a much higher build quality. What with the lighter cable, the less scratchy and lighter stainless steel body, whereas the Spaceship housing, it's heavy, but not in a good way. It's more like it's heavy enough that it can drag itself out of your ears. I guess, you know, we're not in the same price point, so yeah, the E3000 wins, but definitely you have to consider that, you know, the E3000 is more expensive, so they could invest more into making the build quality a bit better. Sound-wise, again, the E3000 knocks it out of the park, I think. It's way more organic sounding, it's a more pleasant low-end performance, and the weaknesses of ringing and sort of the raspiness at high volumes, you know, on the Spaceship, it's very noticeable, whereas on the E3000 it's infinitely less intrusive. You know, it is sort of not fair since the E3000 is much higher priced, but still, for the premium, I'd rather you just buy the E3000 at the higher price because it's probably gonna be the superior product in my opinion. So when you look upwards in the lineup of the E-series earphones of Final Audio, you get the E5000. And yeah, in a way it is basically a direct upgrade to the E3000, but I feel like somehow the magic is lost. So the E5000, it has a bit more extension in both ends of the frequency range compared to the E3000. And you think that's a good thing. But no, it just felt like it lost that feeling of relaxed mellowness that the E3000 had. That's a very special sweet spot, like I said, the E3000 reached. And technicalities wise, I didn't see much of an improvement from the E3000 to the E5000. At least not an improvement that was worth the price premium. The E3000, it really did hit a sweet spot and a niche of a really easy to listen to, a very non-fatiguing sound, which I felt like the E5000 still has, just not as much. Final Audio did upgrade the E3000, and you know, on paper it sounds like exactly what the E3000 needs, but I don't know, somehow it just didn't work out for me. Because the E5000, in trying to be technically better, it lost its niche, and it's, you know, and then when you go to like actual normal big driver earphones, it's just not as proficient. So it didn't really improve on the E3000, but it didn't really match the competitors either. Just take the E3000, I say. So, like I said, I really like micro drivers, and I always want to seek out that magnum opus of a micro driver that can, if not defy physics, then work around it and show that the limitations of size can be, you know, conquered by great engineering, as well as smart tuning, of course. And so far, the final E3000 is basically the closest thing I see to have reached that level. So if you've always wanted a compact, small, low-profile pair of wired earphones so nice and small that you won't even feel it much once it's in your ears. And I guess what in my opinion is pretty much the best sound you could get out of this form factor right now. Get the final audio of E3000. It still has a place in anyone's earphone collection, and it is quite good at being a daily driver, to be honest, with its, you know, low profile, its good sound. I really like using it for like going on trips and stuff. Alright, we've reached the end of the final audio E3000 review. As always, I will put the links to music I used in the video on the description. I'll also be putting the link to my website where you can check out some other written reviews. You can check out some of my old art, and in the About page you can find a variety of ways to donate to me as well. Speaking of, I'll also be putting my Patreon in the description. For now, most of the tiers are for donation purposes, but if you are at my tier 2, you can also get access to my video scripts. But otherwise, you know, if nothing else, thank you for watching. Like the video if you like it, subscribe if you want to see more. If you have any suggestions or questions, please put it in the comments. And thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.